Good morning. I wanted to do a quick video today on some furniture flips. Part of what we do here, in addition to restorations, is some quick flips of furniture. What you're looking at here is a kitchen island that I picked up this week for about, I think I paid $15 for it. And it's actually in pretty good shape, and it's a pretty substantial piece. Some of this stuff can be real junk, but it needs some color touch-ups here and there. You can see the chips here, and it needs to be cleaned up. And it's either a birch or a maple top. When I flip this over, you'll see it could use a refinishing. Here are the two drawers. They're wicker baskets, and they're in pretty good shape, but the handles need some color work. Nothing too difficult. And then we have a little sofa table. This is probably something that came in a box. You can see by the fasteners, the quality of it. It still has the instruction tags on it for constructing it. But it's a wooden top. It's not particle board, and it's actually not a bad little piece of modern convenience furniture. And the top needs a little bit of work. I'll flip it over later and see. But with furniture flips, the key is obviously you're working on pretty tight margins, so you've got to get the stuff done. You've got to get it done quickly, and you can't put too much money into it. But the important part is, and particularly in this shop, is that we won't compromise on quality when we do it. I've seen people that'll take a piece like this and just spray paint it and sell it to an unsuspecting person, and in 2 weeks the paint starts to peel off in sheets. That's not the kind of work that we do here. So what you'll see is what I go through when I restore a piece like this with the intention of flipping it. You've got to know your markets, and you've got to know your margins. This piece here would probably sell for $60 or $70 completely redone in a retail setting. This piece would probably be about $100 or $125 in a retail setting. If I was to sell it myself, this piece here, I'd be lucky to get $100 for it, probably 80, maybe 90. This piece here, probably 40. The used furniture market is pretty flooded, and like I say, margins are pretty tight. Both of these pieces are probably going to go to a thrift store that I work with, a consignment. It's not a thrift store, it's actually a used furniture store. And I get a 60-40 split with the owner. He gets, a little bit more than I can selling it on Craigslist. But again, by the time I pay him his 40%, there's really not a lot of money left on the table. So we're going to get these two pieces knocked off today, and if we have time, there's a third piece, a dresser that needs some work that I can show you later. But that's what we're going to do today. We're going to go through the restoration of these step by step. The first thing we'll do is the color touch-ups, the cleanup and the color touch-ups on this, and then we'll do a cleanup on this, and then we'll refinish both the tops together, so I only have to load the lacquer gun once. And she's all cleaned up, and we're going to start now with touching up some of the color. What I'm using again, as I have in the past, is some commercial pigment, a little artist brush, and some padding solution. And that's basically the system. We just go around the table and find the places that show and fill in the color. I'll bring you back when we're on to the next step. I wanted to talk a little bit about the color that I'm using. This is a commercial pigment dye. This one's by Mohawk. They call it Blend All Powder Stains, and it's basically just color. This color is what's called burnt umber. the vast majority of the brown that you see on furniture is going to be some shade of burnt umber. If you're an artist, you're familiar with these colors. If you're not, you'll eventually figure them out. It takes some time. When I first got started, I was very confused as to how to color in repairs. You know, most of us have taken just a regular wiping stain, from Home Depot, and tried to put it on a piece of finished furniture such as this, and gotten frustrated when it sees it doesn't penetrate the wood. So there's really three different ways you can do it. If the wood is bare, you can use a wiping stain. If the wood is not bare, you can try a dye stain. These are acetone based. Sometimes they'll penetrate the finish, but if the wood is very difficult, is sealed very well, they're not going to penetrate. And then the final thing is to use these color pigments. The color pigments get applied. In this case, I'm using Mohawk's Lac French. It's basically just a padding liquid, or a thinned out shellac that allows the material to go on. And frankly, it's not unlike paint. It goes over the damage and it colors it without having to penetrate the wood. The one thing you do have to do, however, is make sure you seal it with a lacquer coat. Otherwise, the color's not going to stay. I'm going to seal these for you. I'm going to use an aerosol lacquer rather than fire the gun up right now. But you just go around and touch up any place that you've used color, hit it with some lacquer. That locks in and it makes it permanent. This is a can of Deft satin lacquer. You can buy this at Home Depot or Lowe's. It's about $7 a can. And there's one other way, and you can color, and I showed that in the video I did with the Lane of Claim table. Is there's various toners, which is basically lacquer and color mixed together, that you can spray on to pull color in. I don't like using toners for these kinds of repairs where you're down to the white wood, because you have to put so much on and it never really matches, and sometimes it runs. But it's something else you can keep in your arsenal. Okay, I'm going to finish the lacquer covering of the underside of this table. We'll flip it over and we'll start on the top. We're about 15 minutes into this project and we're seeing the light of day already. And I want to show you a technique for covering large areas with this pigment stain, or this commercial pigment, rather than having to apply it with an artist brush. What I did is I just put some pigment on my finger and I'm wiping it directly onto the wood. I probably have to get some more, but I should be able to show you, give you a fairly decent idea with what I've got here. You can wipe it right on the wood. See if I can get some more. And then hit it with some lacquer, and you can see it's already starting to color in. And there's also different techniques for tapping it on with the finger. You can use them when you're filling in large spots on the top of a table or a veneer burn-in, or I'm sorry, a veneer burn through. Make it look like the veneer. And let's see how we're doing. I think this is maybe a little bit dark. Nah, that's actually not too bad. So there you go. I mean, from that to that, and what was that? A minute. And you know, we can fix this up a little bit. This is actually under the drawer, and the eye is really not going to catch it like it would if it was white. But again, you know, we can make it as perfect or as imperfect as we want. It's a flip, and we just want to make it so it's a decent looking piece of furniture for whoever buys it. So there you go. Done. We're at to that in just a few seconds. So that's something else to keep in your bag of tricks. And if I ever get a veneer burn through, I can show you how to tap color on it and blend it in. That's an art in itself. Okay, we're almost done with the coloring. I've got the color pretty well done on the bottom here. On the top, we're no more than a half hour into this project, and we're about ready to tackle the top. By the way, this is on a hydraulic table. If you get into furniture repair, seriously, these things are worth their weight in gold. We use them to load furniture up onto the truck, unload furniture off the truck, and I'm getting old and my knees are bad, and my days of squatting over to work on furniture are over. So what I do is I put it on this. I can jack it up, I think 32 or 33 inches, and it allows me to work more comfortably. It's mobile, it's on a cart. If you buy these, I got mine at home at Harbor Freight. I got it for around 200 bucks. Make sure you get the 1,000-pound one. The 500-pound one's flimsy and doesn't lift as high. So go with the 1,000-pound one. It's a couple $100. It's money well spent. Okay, I'm going to finish up the color, and then we are going to move on to the top. Okay, the color work is done. And it took, well, probably 25 minutes by the time we were all done. So the idea of the color work was really just to get rid of the white that was blown through the color so it blends. It's an old piece. We're not looking for it to be a uniform finish. We just want to get rid of that mess. Now, if you look at this top, it's either maple or birch or beech or one of those woods. It might even be a tropical wood, but it's a hardwood. But you can see if you look at it through raking light that the finish is just gone. We're fortunate it's not damaged, it's not stained. So really, I think what I'm going to do with this one is just take it outside and sand it. I'll probably start with 120 and see how that goes. Some of this finish on these imported tables can be pretty hard, and if it gets to be too much of a pain in the neck to sand it, I'll strip it, but I really don't want to have to go pull out the stripper and have to worry about taping off in here. So I'm pretty much just going to plan on sanding it. And once it's sanded, we will just set it aside until the second table is done, and then we'll shoot the top with a coat of lacquer. The color on this is yellow. I think with the lacquer it's going to be very close to it. If we don't like it, we can just put a couple of drops of dye in our lacquer and yellow it up a little bit. I don't really think it's that important that the top is colored. I think it'll look fine the way it is, but we'll figure that out when we get to it. So anyways, we're a half hour, 45 minutes into the project. All the color work's done. It'll take me about 10 minutes to sand this off, and I figure all said and done we'll have an hour into this project, and it'll go from beat up to looking like new. So we'll be back after I get this sanded off. And the top sanded right off. I used 80 grit and it went right through it. I'll finish it up with 120 or probably even higher, certainly higher, before I shoot the lacquer on it. Just a shortcut that I'm going to take, and I think you might find it interesting. These edges here, the finish on these edges is in great shape, and for me to get this finish off these edges is going to involve hand sanding, because if you hit this with a sander, you inevitably gouge it, and it looks terrible. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to hit this with some sandpaper by hand, just to scuff it up and break the surface, and then wipe it down with some naphtha to get any residual dirt or oils off of it, and then I'll just shoot this right the way it is. The lacquer will go right over it. The lacquer will blend with the old lacquer and blend in with the top, so we don't have to worry about spending 35 or 40 minutes hand sanding these edges off. But that's the top. I'm going to hit it with some higher grit sandpaper to smooth it out. I'll rough up those edges, and we'll blow her off, and then we'll set her aside because she's almost done. And she's all sanded. We went 80 grit, 120, and 220. She's ready to go. Next thing I'm going to do is wipe it down with naphtha. Naphtha is much like mineral spirits. It's an oil solvent, but it flashes off quicker than mineral spirits. And when the table is wet, it'll give you an idea of what the wood will look like top coated. So that's a good hint. So let me get the naphtha on there and we'll see how it looks. We're going to have a real close match, so I think we're not going to have any problems just leaving this in clear lacquer, because it's going to look just fine. It's going to look just fine. Okay, she's done and ready for top coat. We'll set her aside and start working on the other piece. Here's the little oak sofa table. She's been all cleaned up with crud cleaner. All the spider webs knocked off of her. You take a look. It's what's called dark golden oak. It's a dark golden oak finish. It's in really pretty good shape, except you've got a couple of places like here and here where the color is gone. The first thing I'm going to try to do is I'm just going to light sand this and then hit it with a dark golden oak toner. Now you can obviously make this and shoot it on with your gun, but it comes in a spray can as well. This is Mohawk's dark golden oak. And I'm thinking that if I hit this with some dark golden oak, I might be able to tone down that white enough that when I shoot the lacquer, if I put a little bit of dark golden oak or brown in there, it'll look fine. The last thing I want to do is start sanding through this. I'm sure this is a thin veneer. It's not an expensive piece of furniture, and this is going to have to respond to something at the surface. So the plan is to hit it with some 400 and wipe it off, spray some dark golden oak toner on it, and see if we can pull the color in before we lacquer coat it. And what I'm going to use is some 400 grit paper on a cork block, and we're just going to scuff this up so the lacquer adheres a little bit better. Okay, that's it. Let's blow it off. Oak is a very deep grained wood, and you want to make sure that you take the time to get that dust out of there. So I spent a little extra time with the blower to blow it out, and then we'll wipe it off with some naphtha. We haven't talked about it, but silicone, which is in some furniture sprays and furniture polishes, will absolutely wreak havoc on a top coat. Lacquer, polyurethane, whatever you use, sometimes even shellac, it'll mess that up. So the naphtha is an oil solvent, and silicone is an oil-based product. Sometimes the naphtha will get rid of the silicone. If you have heavy silicone on a piece, sometimes it can be terminal. But there's some techniques for getting rid of it. Naphtha, shooting coats of shellac over it, fog coating or whatever. But that's something we can get into in another project. But as soon as the naphtha flashes off, we're going to hit this with some toner and see if we can kind of tone down some of the places where the finish has been missing and get it ready for top coating. Now, I should have my mask on because this is in fact lacquer, but I've got the garage door open and the side door open, and I've got some ventilation here. This is not going to do what I wanted it to do on some of these spots, so we're going to have to use a little bit of pigment color on some of these spots. We'll let that dry off. We'll go back and now pigment color some of the places that didn't cover up, and then we'll top coat it. I'll bring you back when it's time to top coat it. And as expected, by using the pigments and a little bit of lacquer, we got all those color issues taken care of. So she's ready to top coat. She's ready to top coat. Let me mix up some lacquer. These are probably going to get sold in a retail environment, and I think I'm going to spray them with semi-gloss, only because it seems that people like shiny stuff when they're shopping for things like that. So I'll mix up some semi-gloss lacquer. We'll top coat these pieces, and hey, we'll be done. So next time you see me, we'll be spraying the top coat on both of these pieces, both of these flips. And the gun's loaded up with Mohawk pre-cat semi-gloss lacquer. I got the camera back inside the garage, so I hopefully don't get lacquer on the lens. And I'll get these top coats shot. You're going to hear the compressor kick in. Sorry, it's going to be awfully loud for you. Coat of lacquer is still setting up, but you can see we have a really good color match with what was left of the finish that I left on the edges. I'm not 100% certain that I'm going to leave this just like this. I may put a little bit of amber color and a second coat just to pull it in, but that's the way it came from the factory because there was no color on it at all. It came out, it's really nice. It's actually quite a nice piece. Surprisingly, this table, not surprisingly, came out superb. I mean, it looks brand new. You know what we did with it. We just wiped it down, did a little 400 grit sanding, used some color pigment on it, and then shot a single coat of lacquer. And it is tuned up and it looks brand new. So I'm going to probably leave well enough alone with the oak table. I'm not 100% certain yet if I'm going to color the top of this one or not. Probably not. I will shoot a second coat of lacquer on it, only because it's going to get some abuse. It's a work surface, and I want it to be good for the people that buy it. The drawers, I'm not sure that I showed you or told you. Excuse the fan is on. It's got two wicker drawers that come with it. They're in great shape. They had some color issues, which I took care of, and they're ready to go back into piece. So, you know, look, just a little bit over an hour, and two pieces of furniture that were probably on their way to be thrown away. This is a $15 yard sale find, and this here I paid $2 for. Somebody's going to enjoy them. You know, I don't refinish professionally. I don't have people that bring stuff to me to refinish. I don't want to get involved with licensing and hazmat disposal and business licenses and all that other nonsense. So I do it as a hobby, and a big part of why I do it is to bring pieces like this that pretty much had been to the end of their useful life, and you know, just a little bit of effort and a little bit of talent I'll bring them back so somebody can enjoy them. So we're pretty well done here. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something. Most of what we dealt with today was, filling in some color and how we take care of top coat. In this case here, we sanded it off and started from bare wood. In this case here, we just scuff sanded it, colored it, and shot another top coat on it. And I think that both pieces came out great. Abby thinks they came out great. And Stuart, wherever he is, there he is. Stuart thinks they came out great. So we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Well, I sanded the top coat with 400, and then I mixed a little bit of amber dye in with the second coat of shellac, or of lacquer, and it darkened the top just a little bit, and I think it looks a lot better. It's less white, got that little bit of amber glaze to it right now, and I think it looks a whole lot better. So anyways, there she is with the baskets installed. I think it came out great. Like I say, it didn't take anything more than an hour. Had I not been filming this, it probably would have even been faster. But there you go. From junk to a nice sturdy piece of furniture that someone should be able to enjoy for years to come. And I'm happy to do it. Thanks for watching, and Stuart's looking for lizards. Stuart, buddy. Here, bud. There you go. Oh, here comes Abby. What do you guys think? Got your ball? We'll get it. She'll fetch all day long. All right, all. Thanks very much. Bye.